If you hear me breathing a bit heavy, breathing into the microphone, taking big deep breaths, a bit noisy breathing, please pardon. We are at 14,500 feet. Oxygen is a bit low, so a bit of breathlessness is natural. Kindly tolerate. Thank you. Whenever I have traveled abroad on a motorcycle tour or a trip, I rent motorcycles. I never bothered to rent a BMW GS. I don't know why. It never appealed to me. Like I said, it's simply because of the sheer size and mass. It was a deterrent for me. Didn't bother. I used to rent the Suzukis, the Kawasaki's, the Multistrada. These are the motorcycles I rented. Never bothered to rent a BMW GS. I got the opportunity to try this. When I got the call and the invite to ride the 1300, I was marginally skeptical. I said, okay, it's an invite, it's a privilege, thanks to BMW Motorrad India. I said, okay, I'll give it a go. Let me find out why people rave and sing praises about the GS series of motorcycles. I am a skeptic when it comes to big adventure motorcycles being the best adventure motorcycles. Put that skepticism aside, rode this motorcycle. I guess I can say I have been proved wrong. Non-intimidating, easy to ride, loads of performance, and the tech it has got. I need to go back to school to understand all the technologies this has got. It is phenomenal electronics. I think this is the most technologically loaded motorcycle in the world. I don't think there's anything more than this. And there are some fantastic, unique features about this motorcycle. The suspension, the tele lever in front, the para lever at the rear. Heavy braking, there is no dive. Can you imagine? I had to get used to it. When I braked, the normal expectation, the experience is to brace for the dive. This does not dive. It was weird to me. It felt funny. There's something wrong. Then I realized that's how it works. So made sure there was nobody close behind me and I kept slamming the brakes just to get a hang of how it behaves. Confidence inspiring. No dive, maintains the balance. It's got a kind of a combi brake. Apply the rear, the front is marginally applied. Apply the front, the rear is marginally applied. All electronically controlled. It is not a precise percentage. It varies according to speed. Engine modes 7, from yada 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 to yada 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 yada. I've been riding it in road mode. Once I got into a little bit of a dirt patch, switched to enduro mode. Suspension is also advanced. It's got some unique features. I'm not going to list them out, but I tell you what, it is one advanced suspension system. There is an adaptive ride height in one of the variants, 30 mm. Travel above 50 kilometers per hour, the motorcycle goes up by 30 mm. Drop below 30 kilometers per hour, it comes down again. 850 mm seat height. So flat footing with the 830 mm seat is fantastic. That is good for people who wish to have that planted feeling on the road. It's also got that center stand trick. Put it on the stand, push it down. The bike almost puts itself onto the center stand. No more trouble putting a 237 kg motorcycle on center stand. Safety and electronics, of course, ABS is pretty standard. Different engine modes, traction control. It's got lane assist. It's got a collision braking, cruise control, radar guided. I don't know how much of all that we would use in our country. However, it is all available, works perfectly well in Europe and North America. I do not know about India, but hey, there are a few roads in India too where all this can come in handy. Interestingly, the tank is 19 liters and it is an aluminium tank. Yeah, it's a liter less than the 1250 is what I'm told. However, the range is more. That is because they have changed the gearbox ratio of the 6th gear. It's very tall, So the fuel consumption when cruising in sixth is less compared to the previous model. So we can go longer with a full tank of gas. I am also told a lot of attention has been paid to the aerodynamics. There was very little wind buffeting because the windscreen is adjustable. With a flick of a button I could get it all the way up, and even at speeds above 120, no buffeting, no wind noise. In fact, so much of aerodynamic research, if you look at the tire hugger, that's got a little bit of a lip in the bottom and an air channel behind it. This is to prevent the roost from kicking up and spraying all over onto the back of the luggage or the pillion or onto the people following. And a lot of weight saving. The engine is lighter, the frame is lighter. It is no longer the trellis frame of the previous gen. It's a welded steel frame with a die-cast aluminium rear subframe. It's a departure for BMW. This engine also is completely redesigned. The gearbox normally usually used to sit behind the boxer engine. Now they have moved it below, and that is why the cylinders sit slightly higher up. This has helped focus the center of gravity and mass centralization, making the handle as easy and as light as a middleweight adventure tourer. And in these really tight twisties, I noticed something. This is very eager to lean over. When I say eager, I didn't have to make an effort. Initially, I overdid it. I kind of leaned too much and I kind of almost overdid the corner. And to me, the single greatest feature of this motorcycle is the comfort. I've always ranted and raved about how comfortable some motorcycles are, how easily the handlebars fall in place, how so perfectly the foot pegs are positioned, how perfectly the seat height is. This is the best ergonomics I have ever experienced on any motorcycle. I am 5'9", 72 kilos. I find this supremely comfortable. I've been riding only on tarmac, and I'm going to stay only on tarmac. I am not going to take this motorcycle off-road. I'm not going to try it. Yes, en route there are some bad roads, bad patches. That's okay. No off-road feedback, nothing like that, not interested. There are riders who are quite competent at that. They will let you know how it feels and behaves off-road, which I feel he'll do a fairly good job too, because I did see many of them blasting around somewhere here. You see there, that's off-road. There are several of them kicking up a lot of dust and dirt, trying out. I'm the only one on tarmac. And I stay on the tarmac. Some unique features of this motorcycle which the BMW owners will already know. This is for people who have not owned a GS and do not know much about the GS, is the suspension. If you can see, it's got a shock absorber in the middle. There is no spring in here. It's a different design. It's called the tele lever. The rear is a single side. It's called the para lever. Shaft drive. That's another unique thing about the GS. The boxer engine, horizontally opposed boxer engine with a longitudinal crankshaft. That is another unique feature of the BMW GS. And since the late 70s, they have been refining all these features, making it better and better and better. And obviously, this is the best version of the boxer engine GS. A couple of things I absolutely adore about this motorcycle. One is the exhaust note. Sweet sounding. In fact, this sounds like a World War II fighter aircraft. It's got that drone. I don't know how many of you have heard World War II fighter aircrafts. Not many, I presume. I'm that old. I grew up on World War II movies. This sounds like that. I was grinning every time I was accelerating. And the second one is how precise everything is on this motorcycle. All the controls. The throttle, it is so consistent right through the range. It doesn't have the dull spot or the highly oversensitive spot. A lot of effort has gone into making that feel consistent right through. Same with the brakes, same with the switches, same with the steering, the handling, the suspension. Very precise. These are the two things that stand out. I did hear some grumblings from GS owners about how it may have lost its character, how it is no longer a GS, how it is polluted with too much technology. Fair enough, I understand where they are coming from, but they are few and far between. Alienating 10% of the purists, the GS purists, and attracting a huge new audience to this model, I think is the way to go. Things have to change, things have to improve. Becoming bigger and heavier is no longer the way to go. A revolution is upon us. So in the meantime, light is might, tech is might, safety tech is even mightier, and being relevant to younger motorcyclists is probably most important. Most of the owners, at least in Europe and North America, I have seen are all old foggies. Most of them, no offense to the younger ones, 50 plus, well into the 50s, 60s. These are the people who buy the BMW GS series and tour Europe or North America. In India, it's a different game. However, the Indian market is very small, very small. In India, younger people tend to buy this motorcycle. I'm glad that BMW did this because from the R80, I think in the late 70s, every model got bigger and heavier. And the 1250, quite ridiculous, 250 kilos. Yes, there are fans who enjoyed that size, that weight, that type of performance. Good for them. However, they put themselves into a corner. BMW. Only those who liked and enjoyed the big, heavy motorcycles were attracted to the GS series. The competition knew that very well. So then came the Africa Twins, the Super Tenere, the KTM Super Adventure, the Ducati Multistrada, and maybe another one or two. These catered to those motorcyclists who did not like the bulk, who wanted something physically smaller, easier to handle, easier to ride, and take it to all kinds of terrains. Despite the fact they know that the GS handles well, but they were not prepared for that. So that market kept growing marginally. However, the GS series retained its market brilliantly, no competition. But perhaps BMW felt it was the beginning of the stagnation of growth. This is the result of that. This is my opinion. It's not BMW's. BMW Motorrad decided it is time to make motorcycles that will appeal to a wider audience. This appeals to me. This appeals to me. If at all I am in the game for buying something that costs as much as this does and is as big as this is, yeah, I think no Africa Twin, no Multistrada, no KTM Super Duke is going to come in the way of me picking this. Simply because side on, this is no bigger than my V-Strom 650. Yes, the V-Strom 650 is about 20 years old. It has reached the end of its cycle. However, giving a comparison, sitting on it and riding it, I actually found it easier to ride than the other big motorcycles I've ridden in the last few years. This gave me confidence instantly. I was so intimidated getting onto it. In fact, my heart was going boom, 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 beating very fast this morning when I got the keys, geared up, sat on it, started it, and I was just so nervous. I had butterflies in my stomach because that was my perception of what a GS is and what it needs to ride this motorcycle. 5-6 kilometers in, I had a grin plastered on my face inside my helmet. It's going to be hard to wipe that grin off my face. So to conclude, I would say, brilliant motorcycle, exactly what the market needed. I would say market simply because competition is hot. There are very competent motorcycles available from other manufacturers. A lot of youngsters are going and buying those because they did not like the sheer size and that weight of the GS motorcycles. This could change that all. This could actually change and pose the reverse threat. Can draw a younger rider back to the GS from the other competition motorcycles. Brilliant job. Well done. Thanks.